He stood on the edge of fire with his saber raised and his heart breaking. The man before him was no longer a brother, no longer a Jedi, no longer a friend, just a husk of rage wrapped in the voice of someone he once loved. And still, he walked away. The lava didn't just burn flesh, it burned futures. It burned peace. It burned the chance to end what had only just begun. Mercy tasted like betrayal, like surrender disguised as hope, like silence when the galaxy needed a scream. Years later, under a pale moon and broken sky, they fought again, older, colder, wiser in all the wrong ways. And when Vader fell once more, when his mask cracked and the face of Anakin stared through the smoke, Obi-Wan turned and left him breathing again. Some call it mercy, some call it weakness. But mercy carries weight. Mercy echoes through generations. It cannot undo what's been done, but it can choose what comes next. It can either heal or haunt. Across the stars, children cried in cities that no longer existed. Planets crumbled because one man was spared. Voices silenced because one heart refused to strike. And still, in the ruins, a spark remained, fragile, trembling, alive. In this video, we break down the choices that changed everything. We explore how mercy became a curse, how hope gave birth to horror, and how Obi-Wan Kenobi's love for Anakin Skywalker may have saved one soul, but shattered the galaxy in the process. He stood above the lava with the power to end it all. A single motion, and it would be over. The war, the fear, the shadow that would spread across stars. But Obi-Wan chose differently. He chose to leave Anakin alive, scarred, defeated, but breathing. Why? What did he see in that moment? A brother, a fallen dream, a hope too stubborn to die. The fire didn't just consume Anakin, it consumed the silence between them. A silence where love wrestled with duty, where memory clashed with survival, where mercy looked more like hesitation. Years passed, galaxies burned, and still that choice echoed. Not once, but twice. Because when they faced each other again, on a moon cloaked in shadows, Obi-Wan defeated Vader once more, and again he left him to fate, walking away from a man who had already destroyed too much. It's easy to call it mercy, to say he couldn't bring himself to finish what he started. But mercy without consequence is fantasy. And in a galaxy shaped by war, mercy becomes something else. It becomes a risk, a gamble with lives not your own, a decision with blood it never means to spill. What if Obi-Wan had struck the final blow? What if Vader's story ended where it began? How much would have changed? How much was allowed to happen because one man refused to make a harder choice? And how long can mercy protect us before it turns into ruin? The signs were there, clear as crystal. The Republic was crumbling, Jedi were dying, worlds were falling. And still Obi-Wan couldn't do what had to be done. He watched the galaxy rot from the inside, yet spared the man wielding the blade. Twice he had the power to end it. Twice he let him live. And what came after was not peace. It was fire. It was genocide. It was 1,000 screams from 1,000 systems silenced by one man's mercy. All because Obi-Wan believed that killing Anakin was crossing a line. But that line was already broken. Shattered the moment Anakin slaughtered children. The moment he pledged himself to Sidious. The moment he hunted his own kind through the halls of a dying order. There was no return from that. Only consequence. Only reckoning. Still Obi-Wan looked away. Still he turned his back. As if the burden would vanish if he refused to bear it. As if Vader would stop if left to his own regret. But the galaxy paid that price. Not Obi-Wan, not the Jedi. The people who screamed beneath the heel of the Empire. And how do we justify it? How do we tell the victims of Alderaan that mercy was noble? How do we measure hope against history? How many lives were gambled and lost because Obi-Wan hesitated? The weight of it all sits heavy. Not just on Obi-Wan, but on everything left behind. On the temples turned to ash. On the children who grew up under tyranny. On the silence that filled the stars where laughter used to live. He loved Anakin, truly deeply. That love was not weakness, but it became a wound. One he never let heal. One he never let close. It festered in him, became guilt, became isolation, became exile on a desert world beneath twin suns. He walked away from the Order, from the cause, from the galaxy itself. But the past followed him, every night in dreams. Every whisper in the sand, every cry from a child stolen by stormtroopers he knew. Deep down, he had let it happen. Not because he wanted it, but because he couldn't stop it. He couldn't let go. He couldn't kill the last piece of family he had, even when that family was a monster. Even when that monster wore the face of a friend he once called brother. There is a tragedy in that. A sorrow that burns quieter than fire. A grief shaped like love. A pain that never leaves. Because Obi-Wan didn't just lose Anakin. He lost the future they were supposed to build together. And yet, There is something haunting in how it all unfolded. A pattern too precise to be chance. A fate too cruel to be random. The Force moves in ways no one truly understands. And perhaps even mercy has its place in destiny. Anakin didn't die on Mustafar. He was reborn in agony, in rage, in servitude. And even that transformation was part of a larger design. Sidious thought he controlled the board, but the pieces had their own purpose. Obi-Wan's choice may have been a failure, but it also set the stage for something greater. Because only Vader could destroy the Emperor. Only the son of Skywalker could reach the Father. Only love twisted so violently could one day be unwound. There's a poetry to it, a terrible, aching beauty. That the same mercy which doomed so many also allowed for redemption. That in leaving Vader alive, Obi-Wan unknowingly preserved the one chance the galaxy had left. And though it came at an unbearable cost, though it tore generations apart, though it stained every star with loss, that sliver of hope, that final breath of light, only existed because one man refused to kill what little love remained. Not all choices make sense in the moment. Not all victories come from action. Sometimes the greatest power is restraint. Sometimes mercy plants seeds that justice never could. Sometimes letting go is the first step toward healing. Luke saw what Obi-Wan couldn't. That behind the mask was still a man, still a father, still something that could be reached. Not with a blade, but with compassion, with faith, with belief in the impossible. And that belief, that stubborn spark, traveled through generations, through Padma's final breath, through Leia's defiance, through Luke's forgiveness. It lit fires in the hearts of those who chose to rise. Even when it hurt, Obi-Wan carried his guilt like armor, but in the end, he also passed on his hope. He watched over Luke, protected him, prepared him, and though he never lived to see the victory, his presence was in every choice that followed. Hope is fragile, but it endures. It survives exile. It survives failure. It survives war. And maybe, just maybe, that is what mercy was meant for. Not to fix the past, but to give the future something to hold on to. Still, it broke the galaxy. That decision, that mercy, it broke everything. It didn't matter that it came from love. It didn't matter that it saved something in the end. The cost was too high, and the wound too deep. Billions died under Vader's hand. Entire worlds erased. Families shattered. Cultures silenced. Every atrocity began with a single choice. A single act of mercy that rippled across time like a storm. We can say it was fate. We can say it was necessary. But none of that erases the truth. That 2 moments, 2 merciful silences, let evil live longer than it should have. Let fear spread farther than it ever needed to go. Obi-Wan's heart was pure. His intent was good. But good men can still cause devastation. They can still fall short. They can still look into the eyes of evil and see only the face they used to love. And in that love, the galaxy broke. Because some tragedies don't explode. They whisper, they breathe, they survive. And sometimes, mercy becomes the most painful weapon of all.